Hey guys, welcome back to Tier 1 Performance. We're back here with In and Out Talks with the lovely Katie Rose Marvin. How are you doing today?
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's talk about your background. Tell us, how you got involved in the sport of tennis and what made you go play collegiately.
Yep. So probably started playing tennis around like 4 or 5 years old. So back in those days, the just kind of camps, etc. My family is a very sports oriented family, so it's kind of join any camps as much as possible. Started out, was a lot of fun. I actually didn't catch the itch yet, so I actually did travel soccer for a while. So I probably did that for 2 or 3 years. I was a early bloomer, so I was the tallest girl on the team, so they put me actually in goalie. So as a 10-year-old, I had a very good arm span to block anything.
So you love soccer first?
Yes.
Okay.
So I actually was like, soccer's going to be my sport, etc. However, because I was kind of playing defense and goalie, I was like, I'm just like sitting here. I'm not really doing anything. We're doing all these travel and whatever. So it's probably around probably 8-ish, 8 to 10, whatever that kind of time frame was, where I told my mom, I was like, I'm done with this. Moving on, I need to do something that I'm not just sitting out here getting bit by bugs in the goal. So
it's fair.
Anyway, so I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to pick up tennis. So she was like, all right, let's do it. So joined all these camps again, started taking more private lessons, getting into it a little bit more seriously.
Right.
Then I started joining tournaments. So there's an organization or the league is called USTA.
And you're based out of DC area?
Yes, so I'm based out of the DC area. So that region is called the Mid-Atlantic. So it's anything Maryland, Virginia, DC. I think those are the main. I don't think Delaware was a part of it, so there wasn't a huge pool of it.
Okay.
So that was where I was. That was my region.
So this is a league that you're a part of, or an organization?
It's an organization. So the United States Tennis Association, USTA, is what it stands for, and that's even what the pros are all part of. It's a big. There's different levels, which I'll kind of go into a little bit more about qualifying for tournaments, etc. It becomes a huge point system, and that's how you gain your ranking.
Okay.
So. I started playing tennis tournaments at the age of probably 12 and unders is when I really started jumping in.
Is that an average? Is that late? Is that considered late or right around the right time?
I might have been a little bit on the later side. I think those who were playing very competitively, excuse me, we're probably doing more 10 and unders. But
this is boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
Right.
Yes. Right. However, the tournaments were just girls, boys. They were separated at that time. So from there on out, it was kind of jumping right into it. So it was on the weekends. It's Friday, Saturday, Sundays. All the matches. Sometimes on Thursdays, playing them locally. So there's different levels to gain up those points. So it's really level 5 is typically level 5 and 6 is where you would start. It's really I'm kind of just getting into tournaments. Let me get some points here, and every single round that you advance to, you'd get more points. If you beat a higher seed, right, say you beat the number 2 seed in the tournament, you get extra points for that, for those who are ranked higher than you.
Right.
So a lot of my weekends in the beginning were local tournaments that were level 5s, but it was just taking up the weekends and building the points. But then it's from there, as you do progress, and it's all right, I'm going up to level 3. It's a little bit more of the competition, the people that are a little bit more serious. A lot of these are doubles and singles.
Okay.
So we would, again, my mom was the one who traveled with me all the time, so it was just us two, just kind of going, like I said, every weekend and building the points as much as we could.
How does the point system work?
Yeah, so it's I'll take a level 5 versus a level 1. So a level 5, like I said, is more you're the beginning stages of just building this up. I would say the competition's not as elite because again, it's just that lower level tournaments where if you won a level 5 tournament at the time, it was maybe 800 points, something like that. If you won a level 1, level 2 tournament, you're getting 3,000 plus points. So there's a huge difference.
And the higher the point system, the higher you rank.
Yes, the higher you ranked. So you start low at the totem pole. 100%. So it just varies. Like that's how kind of the point system worked, and every single round you'd gain more points. So
okay, so that led to like your point system and your ranking led to you getting noticed by colleges, which led to them like I guess going out and watching you, and then you committing eventually and all that.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes. So
kind of dive into it for me.
Yeah. So. But like I said, the level 5s are the more entry level. So if you're getting to if you're gaining enough points to be able to qualify, so you couldn't just jump into a level 2 tournament. You had to have the points to qualify.
To get into it.
Exactly. Gotcha. So when you get to more the level 2s and 3s, and then the nationals as well, which we can talk about, that whole process as well. That is where the college coaches come. Wow. Those are the ones that are going to come in like, hey, they're local, let's travel here. And every single region has these same levels for the record. So it's not just the Mid-Atlantic has this. So it's you kind of putting your name out there, talking to the coaches. Hey, I'm playing in this tournament. It's near you. Do you want to come out and watch? You kind of have to go out there. But then coaches also know if, say, like for me, example, like Loyola or Georgetown, right? Those were the two schools that we would constantly be at or playing around. Like the coaches were like, oh, I knew this tournament, this was that time. They're always going to be there, stay there for a few hours and just kind of scout everybody out.
Okay.
So
it's way different than baseball.
Yeah, really, really different. You're a little bit sport. On your own.
Yeah.
It's a very individual sport. And I think that was a little hard for me in the beginning because it was just like me and my mom traveling.
No team, no support system.
Yeah, there's no team, no support system. You would sign up for doubles. So a lot of these like higher level tournaments, they also had like a doubles tournament with it. So I would have like my doubles partner at the time. We would play together and then also play in our singles matches as well. So you almost are playing two and you'd still get points. A lot of people were like, we have to play doubles because you'd still get points playing doubles that would also play into your ranking.
Okay. But could you ever lose points?
No, you weren't losing points. You just wouldn't gain any.
Oh, okay. So if you got out early, you're not going to get any points. But if you got lost in the championship, you gained a little bit. But if you won it all, you gained a lot.
Exactly.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand. So how many points did you need to get noticed by colleges, like roughly?
You know what? I don't know from a points perspective. I'm not exactly sure. I would say the ones that were getting really good looks would be anybody in the top 50. I think you would say. So if you're a top 50 in your region, that's when you can kind of be like, hey, I'm at this number. Top 20 is really a really good spot to be in.
That's like your choice of the picking of what school you want to go to?
Not to that extent, but there's just a lot more doors that open.
Okay.
So I think I got as high as, I did get into the top 20, of the Mid-Atlantic for my age group at the time. And this was like U16, whatever we are in high school. So I did get up to that, and then you also have your state ranking. So I was, top 5 in Maryland for both, singles and doubles, which was great. And that really helps for, the recruiting process. So, I don't know from a points perspective because I just don't know what that is.
By the ranking,
but by the ranking, you can tell. And, like, you go into, like, a person's profile and you see, like, oh, they're playing this tournament. They're playing.
Really organized.
The USTA has done a really good job with keeping everything, like, in check. Yeah. The good thing is, or I guess the thing to point out too, is like coaches want to see you challenging yourself to play that level 2, level 3. Yeah, you might be ranked top 50, maybe in the top 10, but at least I'm seeing that you're getting into these tournaments and you're challenging yourself to put yourself with the better players.
So would you say that like if you're top 5, 1 through 5, that's kind of like those guys that are, those girls are guys that are teenagers that might go pro instead of going to college? Because, for example, Coco just won it all, but she's 19.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's I think you got to look at it from a national level versus a region level.
So
I would say if you're top 10 nationally, you're most likely like trying to go pro at that point. Okay. Like that's probably it. Like,
so how do they rank you nationally from your region? Like, do they just take the number 1 from each region and then put them all together? And then they, by your point system, then they rank you nationally?
Yeah, so it's kind of taking the point system, taking like where like the stud, like kind of like the stud players, like which regions are a little bit stronger, and they played that into a factor to give yourself a national ranking. So it is like if you pulled up 2 pools, like there's the Middle Atlantic region, okay, how does that compare to maybe the mountain region, right? Like what's the pool out there? There might not be as many tennis people underneath the USTA. So they're all taking that into consideration to get to your national ranking.
Wow. Okay. So going into, so I'm assuming you were like maybe a junior, sophomore, senior when you committed to PC?
So I was a senior when I graduated.
Who else was looking at you?
Yeah. So I was looking at Providence, Villanova, Fairfield, Loyola of Maryland a little bit. And then I had some like bigger schools, but I wouldn't necessarily have seen the playing time. So I had looked at Michigan State. That was up there. It came down to that, and then a little bit of Penn State. Keep this in mind. I'm not saying I was like the best tennis player out there. There's so many great athletes out there, especially the girls that were like, again, those nationally like top 10. I would never compare to them. But I would have been more of like, to be realistic, I just would have been a walk-on, probably more of a hitting partner compared to these other girls.
Okay.
Were the Providence, Fairfield, Villanova, Loyola, I would have seen the playing time, which, I was able to at Providence, and that kind of made me decide, like, do I want to go to a big school for the fun, and, I love the, environment there. I put so much effort into this training and
you want to see
all these years,
play.
But I had to weigh that option, right? It's like, what did I want for these next 4 years? Am I going to just use my tennis to get me into a great school? Or do I want to actually see myself play and put the efforts, what I've been doing for the past couple of years?
Understandable, yeah. Same kind of concept. I had a walk-on at Texas A&M, and I said, do I want to walk on Texas A&M, maybe play, maybe start, or I could go to, University of Rhode Island, get a fair chance at starting if I earn the spot, versus like, I go in as a walk-on as a position player at A&M, and they're like, yeah, it's almost guaranteed you're going to redshirt.
Right.
And then try to bust your ass.
Right.
And may not even work out, and then you're not getting money on top of it.
Right.
So... Going into it, like, explain the communication process. Like, so I guess they see you at a tournament. Do they reach out via email? Do they come up to you after the game?
Yeah.
And then, like, are you just playing, like, who's offering me the best deal?
Yeah.
Like that. So it kind of how it went.
Again, like, I'll speak to, like, mine as versus, like, everybody's different, right? Because the reason why I say that, again, it's, like, it truly depends on your ranking because the coaches can't come up to you. Like, that's just against, like, NCAA regulations. So you have to either go up to them. They can't be like, hey, Katie, like, nice to meet you. You have to go up to them and say, like, hey, coach, I'm Katie Marvin. And then you can kind of have a conversation.
Really?
They can't initiate it.
At any point?
They can't. I think it's, like, junior year and senior year at the time, I think it was.
Yes.
Like, I think earlier years they can, like, hey, like, I'm Katie. But once you really get into, like, the recruiting process, they can't be coming up to you. Like, you have to make it. They can respond to emails, again, but that kind of has to come from you.
Right.
Initially. So I played at a tennis academy called 4-Star Tennis Academy in Northern Virginia. They also have a location in Maryland, Potomac, Maryland as well, at the Bullis School. My coach's name was Steve McGow. He played at Ohio State.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was absolutely a killer. He was awesome. But he was very much like a hard coach. Like, he took no prisoners. He was like, we're going to be on this court as long as we have to. He did not have a, like, babying anybody, which I needed. I needed that tough love mentality.
Yeah.
So when it came into the recruiting process, or, like, kind of putting myself out there, again, like, I wasn't that top person, so I had to be a little bit more creative with my prospecting efforts. So I had Steve, who helped me a lot with some of his connections, just being a great coach and kind of knowing the schools in the area. But then I also signed up for a organization, I think they're actually based out of here in New England, called the Tim Donovan Tennis Strategies.
Okay.
So this was a group where they specialized in tennis recruiting. So they would put on these showcases, and they're all in different regions. I think they won West Coast, I think down in the South, and then also up here in Boston. So I signed up for this, and this is where mainly the schools of Villanova, Providence, kind of like those D1, but a little bit smaller schools, and they had anything down to D3 as well.
How old were you when you started this?
This was the series. So this was my junior year when it was really intense. Like, my junior year was, like, the most intense.
This is this is when usually most people are committing.
Yes, and my goal was to walk into my senior year of high school and be
Stress-free.
like, I don't need to worry about a thing. All I have to do is just show up when the bell rings. Like, that was my mentality.
It's everyone's dream, right?
And it was great. So I was able to do these tennis tournaments where they would be full-on tournaments. I wasn't getting any points, but it was strictly for these coaches to come look at you.
Okay,
so,
like exhibition matches.
Yes, there were exhibition matches for them, like, I'm playing against other girls from, other different regions who are only a part of whoever signed up for this organization could participate in this tournament. Not everybody could do it. So that's something I did. I did, tennis videos, just clips, highlighting like my strokes, played some points, etc. For that process, then I would just take my link. I built a CD and, sent that out to coaches as well and just said, hey, Katie Marvin, I'm interested in you guys, would love to introduce myself, come on an unofficial visit. I think that's something to always tell the coaches, like, I'm willing to come to you, so they don't have to be like, oh, let me pay them out of pocket, right? You kind of have to be like, this is an unofficial visit, want to come say hi, introduce myself, here's my tape, let me know if you're interested, and just following up with them, from there on out.
So, YPC?
Yeah, so funny story about that. It was, like, not on my list at all. It was, like, literally not. So I was actually driving with my mom to go visit Boston College. And as I'm coming up to Boston College, we're getting off of the Rhode Island exit, and I go to my mom, like, no, like, we're going to Boston College, we're in the wrong place. She goes, oh, by the way, you have a meeting with the Providence tennis coach.
She just said, oh, by the way.
Yeah, she said, oh, by the way. And I am throwing a fit. Like, I am throwing a fit. And I guess, a little background to here, and this alludes a little bit more to why I said before if I wanted to be a walk-on at Michigan State or Penn State or something like that. I have two older brothers. So They both are football players. One of my brothers, one played at Fordham University in New York, and then the other one actually played at Penn State for a little bit as well.
Love Penn State.
So, and my parents went to Michigan State. So I have known these big schools.
Your whole life, right?
My whole life. I knew Boston College was a smaller school, but had that
name.
That name, that atmosphere,
Correct.
That like, I was like, fine, I might be better academically at a smaller school, but that has that name. It has football. It has like the good basketball teams. It has all this.
Yes, exactly. You know of them.
Yes, everybody knows them.
Yes, exactly.
And then so when my mom's telling me I'm going to Providence to have a meeting with the coach, I'm like throwing a fit, like completely whatever.
Didn't even want to humor her.
I didn't want it. No, absolutely not.
That's awesome.
Get onto campus, met with the coach, and we can talk about this too, but his name was Kyle LeBranch. I had 3 coaches during my 4 years at Providence.
A lot of turnover.
So it's something we can definitely talk about too. Right. But at the time it was Kyle LeBranch, and I joined right when I walked on campus. I was like, crap, like, it's a lot better than I thought this was. There's a nice iron gates, I'm in a city, it's smaller, this could be my vibe.
Yeah.
I also had a good friend of mine, Olivia Hogan, who was from the Mid-Atlantic. Her and I used to play doubles together. We knew each other, from high school tennis. Our schools competing against each other. We'd constantly come across. She was a player there, so she was 2 years older than me. So having that comfort zone of also knowing a girlfriend on like the team also made it.
Is that how they found out about you because of her?
No. I mean, I think a little bit. I think, with me doing my outreach, like I was saying before, like, hey, coach, I will testify that my mom helped me with that one, obviously, because she was
she
we're going, type of thing. But then that's also the coach is saying, hey, Olivia, like, who's this girl? She's from your region. She would kind of vouch for me. Shout out to Olivia, who, then opened up the doors. And from there on out, I would say as soon as I left that campus, I was like, all right, I need to think about this a little bit more seriously. And I think that's when I was like, what do I want? Do I want that big school, or do I want to really see myself play? Because I've done this for so long.
Right.
I need to give myself a chance.
So it was overall a good conversation with the coach.
Yes, ended up being a great conversation. He was super helpful, talking about the recruiting process and, where he sees the team and the openings coming that coming year. Crazy enough, my recruiting class at Providence was 6 girls.
Is that large?
That is huge for a tennis team. Typically you're seeing like 3 or 4. Max. And then, max. So to have 6, like, that was crazy. And also Providence Tennis, which I don't believe they still do, but somebody definitely can fact check me. they didn't have women's scholarships for tennis.
They're also a private school.
Yes, they are private, but we're in the Big East.
Okay. So we are in the Big East Conference. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Big East Conference. But the fact that like 6 girls were committing to Providence, all of them were American, committing to like Providence on non-scholarships, athletic scholarships was insane type of thing. So that was a little bit of a hesitation for me to be like, okay, wow, that's kind of a big group. That's a lot of competition.
Little red flag, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's a lot of competition for realistically we're fighting against 2 spots. Because you have like all the seniors that are there, the people kind of secure their spots a little bit. Coach knows
how many people usually play during a tournament?
Yeah, so there's 6 singles. So 6 girls are absolutely playing singles, and then there's 3 doubles. So it's 2, 4, 6, so 12. But if you're playing singles, you can also play doubles.
So some girls will definitely overlap.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say maybe like 8 are playing. Yeah, because I think 8 is typically what would be playing.
Yeah, okay.
Because you could play just singles and not doubles, or there could be some overlap as well.
Right, okay. So then that means, how many people are usually on a tennis team?
Yeah, like 12 is pretty big. Like 10, okay. 10 is probably like the average? Like a good number to have on a tennis team.
Wow, and then you had 6 new girls coming in, so that's wild.
So a lot of people didn't travel, like me being one of them. So, you know, my freshman and sophomore year, I was not traveling. I think that was, you know, that was a little tough in the beginning, just because I was just like, I tried all this, you know, to come here, and like I had to solidify my spot. But it was tough. And, you know, we're getting on campus after the summers and there's challenge matches. So at the end of the day, you can say like no one's safe because we come back from our summers and we have a full internal team tournament to see who's going to be able to play this year.
So what was the deciding factor that made you go, all right, you know what? I'm going to give PC a chance. I'm committing here. What was that turning factor? Since you had all these big schools considerations, you had these also mid-major schools in consideration, like what really made you go to PC, especially after finding out 6 girls were coming?
Yeah. The academics were great at Providence for sure.
Without a doubt.
You know, I took that into account, you know, as the thing. I also was somebody that was realistic, that I knew I wasn't going to the US Open one day. I wasn't going to go to Wimbledon. So I really wanted that balance, that athletics versus education, while also having a life. Like, I did not want tennis to be 24/7. It was a huge part of my college experience, but it wasn't my life by no means. And I would recommend that to anybody about Providence in particular. They've done a really good job of balancing the 2. So that was kind of mine. So
going back to let's talk about your career now at Providence. What was that like?
Yeah, it was fun. I had a great time.
I can tell.
Yeah, I had a really good time. So I was able to play anywhere between, well, I guess I don't even know where I sit on the team, like my tennis, the coaches. Where do you want me to start?
Let's go by year. Let's start with freshman year all the way to, I don't think you redshirted at all, did you?
Nope, didn't redshirt at all.
You went straight 4. All right, let's go with your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
Okay. So the tennis season is in the spring. So we play in invitationals in the fall, so we are definitely playing tournaments, but that's just more for your own ranking. Because again, in college, it's a completely different type of system.
So now you're not using that United States Tennis Association.
It's more of like NCAA, UST, they kind of overlap.
Okay.
Yeah. But you do build your own ranking in college, again, because tennis is an individual sport. Where you build your own ranking to eventually, you know, you could go pro or whatever. So my freshman and sophomore year, I did not play. I played in the fall for those invitational tournaments, and then maybe played a little bit in the spring of my sophomore year, but nothing crazy, to be completely honest. Then I actually went abroad. So this was also one of the reasons why I chose Providence.
Freshman year?
My junior year.
My
junior year, my biggest year for sports.
To play?
No.
Oh, just to go?
No, I just went because I was like, I just went. And the reason why I say that is because my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't really see much playing time. Then I was like, you know what? I'm still going to be part of the tennis team. I'm not on scholarship. Going abroad is something I really wanted to do. Like,
so
study.
It was an academic thing?
It was an academic thing. Did not play tennis. Wow. I joined a gym because I was like, I should at least exercise. But, like, I did not play tennis. Yeah. And that coming back after that abroad experience, I played the best tennis in my entire life for the next year.
So you literally took a sabbatical year off.
No, I literally did. But I came back in the spring, and I showed up to play, and I was playing like anything between 3 and 6, on the singles ladder for our tournaments. And sometimes I think people need to realize, like, I think I was just a little burnt out. Like, I was kind of tired of tennis. I was like, I was training constantly. I played this all the time. And I was like, me taking that break is exactly what I needed, because my spring of my junior year and my senior year at Providence, when I really was like playing in the lineup for sure, I was playing my best tennis. Like, and it was just crazy to me that just taking that little break helped me so much.
Did that, do you think the coach turnover rate also had an impact on your tennis life?
Yes, for sure. I'm very much somebody that's like regiment, that I need like consistency. Yeah. So when it came to Providence, the coach had left, where they actually gave us the opportunity that anybody for the freshman, whatever, he was, how do I say this? Like, we had a period where we also had the opportunity that if we wanted to leave Providence, we could. So
with no drawbacks.
With no drawbacks. We could go anybody. We're not going to be docked for anything.
Wow, I didn't know
so
that.
We had a period where if we wanted to, we could leave.
Okay.
I ended up staying. All six of us freshmen ended up staying, which was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so we ended up staying and sticking it out. Then when the coach left, our assistant coach ended up taking the head position for a little bit.
Like interim?
Yeah, interim, and then eventually became the head coach.
Oh, wow, okay.
Which was good. And then I went abroad, but when I came back from abroad, we ended up having, his name's Jacob Kleesen. He played at Old Miss, was absolutely a rock star, loved him. And I think that's what the program needed, to be completely honest, because our two coaches before, they played tennis, but they didn't like play it like Jacob did. They weren't like at that high level that he got to. Which I think is what the Providence...
There's a lot of relationship
yeah,
issues. Like, you can't relate to being at that level.
Exactly. Like, he played it on a whole nother level than those other coaches, and I think that's what that program needed. They needed somebody to push them a little bit harder, understand that, yeah, you guys might be a smaller school, but you guys still have the talent to do so much, right?
Yeah.
So he held us at the same expectations that, like, Old Miss was holding for, like, the men's team. He was, held that same expectations for like women's tennis at Providence. So I do think coming back to that environment,
so you took a break and then you had a whole different culture.
A whole new culture, new coach, everything. I think that changed everything.
So the whole stars aligned.
Yes.
As a whole, your team did better anyway.
Yes.
Including yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah.
Let's also talk about, like, you said you got burned out your first 2 years, a lot of coach turnover rate, all that stuff. How did that affect you, like, mentally as a player? Because it's not talked about enough. Like, it's not always sunshine and rainbows once you make it D1 or you make it to college. So, like, how hard was it, A, to adjust being away from home, B, being in a city school, because it's not just a town for... PC is great, but the whole city of Providence is not just for PC, as it is for, like, Penn State in the city that it's in, right? It's a college town, right? How was it being in, like, a city... adjusting to a new environment, and then 3, like, taking care of your academics, because they're an academically tough school. Like, how hard was it while balancing tennis? So 4 things. Like, how was that lifestyle for you?
Yeah. So I've never been a huge homebody myself. If I can jump on a plane and I'm close to an airport and it's like an hour and a half flight, like, I'm good. Okay. Like, we can just go get it out good. So me going to Providence, like, honestly was not an issue. Like, emotionally and mentally for me. For the recruiting process in general, I stand by saying choose a school for the school. Do not choose a school for sports. And the reason why I say that is because you could walk in that first day, you can tear your ACL, you can have a really bad ankle injury, whatever it is that's going to put you out for the entire season, potentially your career, one mistake, but then you're going to be stuck at that school.
Right.
If you can love the school for the school and take out the sports, and then the sports is almost a plus, then you're going to have a very great career.
Right.
And I think that's the mindset I kind of went into, that be like, yeah, I have a hard time with tennis. Like, it's a tough, it's a commitment, whatever, but I love the school. I'm here with the right people. I'm here. I made such, like, great friends with it. My tennis team, I think that's also something to note with tennis versus baseball where you guys had like 40 guys.
Correct.
Right? Like my tennis team was 10 girls. Like that is hard. Like when you're part of the tennis, you got to make sure you're also looking like, do I mesh with these girls? Right? You can't just be like,
right.
oh, I love the coach. Like you got to see yourself. You're with them 24/7.
24/7.
Right? And that's a small group. We all know girls are tough. Like, and with 10 of them, like that's a very small group, like of girls.
They better be your best friend.
Yeah, like no, seriously, they better. And they end up being like they truly are. Some of my best friends. So I think that's what also got me through those. Like the city didn't bother me being home from home. Like the workouts were tough, but I was with like my 3-4 best friends all the time, and we're all suffering together. Like why not? Like we all can't complain.
Absolutely.
So I think that was probably it for me.
So what was your major?
Yeah, so I did business management and then a minor in finance.
How tough was that?
It was good. We got through it. I would say, look.
She survived.
Yeah, right? I would say, I wasn't a bio major. I feel like I had one of my best friends on the team. She was a bio major. And our majors were very different. I think,
sure.
Business management was a lot more doable, I felt like, than sitting in labs,
as a science major.
As a science major.
Quite
you were that too.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so you get it. Like it was hard. You couldn't have flexibility like others.
Correct. No, I had no flexibility. In fact, all my classes, I never saw guys like Ben or maybe 90% of our team. Yeah. Like I never had any classes with them. I think I only had one class with two other guys. One was like he's another engineering major, and then another one was another environmental science major. And like, if we're being honest, those two guys are on the very different from the guys that I hang out with. Yeah. I love Mark and I love Sam Johnson, but like,
right,
like they're completely different people, and we're always alone, and we're always doing something. Like baseball and my academic life was very separate versus like I guess you or like other people that were in like comm or business or finance. You have some athletes that are all together. It's just very different for me.
Yeah, and I actually went into college declaring marketing. Just because I just didn't really know what I wanted, but I knew I wanted to do business.
Okay.
Coming out of it, I decided that it was like marketing is just like not for me. It's like not my vibe. So I actually went management because I felt it was a little bit more broad.
So you changed in the middle. Okay.
I changed. I think it was like maybe the spring of my freshman year or like beginning of sophomore year, where I was just like, I think I just need to change it, do something, make it a little bit more broad, and then picked up finance my senior year for a minor, just to have a little bit, a better resume, honestly, at the end of the day.
Oh wow, that's pretty awesome. And at the end of the day, you got like the whole college experience. You're a D1 athlete. Yeah. You got your degree. You had fun. You enjoyed it. It looked like it all. Not to say it from like a selfish perspective, but you prioritized yourself and you made it the best situation you could possibly have at BC. It seems like, without also damaging your own team.
Right.
Which is like also like the key, because you committed to go there. You represented the Friars. So
but I do think there's something to, again, like if I'm happy in my own situation, I'm only going to perform better on the court. Right. If I'm miserable and stressed about classes, stressed about life, that's going to fall into my tennis performance. Right. So I know I was fortunate enough to be able to have that balance and like kind of put myself first for then me to like also, be the best teammate that I could be.
Right. So what was you've played against? I'm assuming you played against people that have, I guess, gone pro or that were at the top of their collegiate careers. You played against people that were in high school that didn't make it. What separates a player that plays at that professional level versus like the college level, and then what separates a college person that plays that like what separates a college player from a high school player? Like what's the difference in skill?
A lot of it's training. Right, so
just putting the hours in?
Yeah, honestly, just putting the hours in. So you could just be like a high school tennis player, and like that was your practice, but that was like about it. You're not taking any private lessons, you're not doing any additional workouts on the side, but you enjoy tennis, you want to support your high school, that can be enough, right? Mm-hmm. You kind of just play like recreational, to be completely honest. For those who are playing, tournaments and trying to go more at the collegiate level, they have a strength coach, right? I mean, my summer tennis hours were 8 to 1. Like that was my tennis time. And a part of that was we're doing drills, we're doing fitness, we had mental training, we had, you know, of course you had breaks, and you had like, you know, like match play, like everything was set into these 4 or 5 hours of practice. And like that's stuff that high school players are not doing, right? They're just doing like, here's a bucket of balls, let's hit and make sure you make contact. Honestly, not taken away from.
So skill oriented, and then involving other aspects of your body and even the mental side.
Yes,
that's college.
Yes. Now I'm a big I played high school tennis, and I'm a big advocate for it because again, like you got to have a normal life, like in my opinion. And I do. Again, some of my best friends are because tennis is such an individual sport that if I was able to be a part of that tennis team and cheering on the girl next to me versus just like me going on every weekend to go play a tournament and like there's no cheering involved, it's just me and my mom, like that's it. You know, I think that was there's a difference there.
Okay.
And then taking it furthermore, like one step further for those who are going pro, I mean, a lot of them, to be completely honest, they're homeschooled. I mean, that's the part that I truly think separated me from a lot of these top tier players is because they're going down to Florida. They're getting homeschooled by, you know, all these huge facilities and top organizations.
Like some Serena and Venus Williams type stuff.
Like it's insane. You know, there was a lot of, for sure, there's a lot of like foreigners that come into play too.
I was about to say, yeah.
That get sponsorships and, you know, scholarships to play at these huge academies that eventually, like constantly what they're doing, they wake up, they're playing 3 hours of tennis, then they do some schooling, then they're playing another 3 hours of tennis, all right, maybe do some homework, then they have like, you know, they have a nutritionist on site, they have their strength, everything's right there for them, where it was very clear at times, like those who were homeschooled and at those academies versus like me, who's at a very well-known tennis academy myself locally.
But you're a normal high school student.
Right, but I'm a normal high school student as well. So I think that's just something that sets the difference between those levels.
Right, and like it's literally just the hours and like having the opportunity to play as much as possible and get it in. So like you're saying, those people that play at the next level almost sacrifice their childhood.
Yes, honestly, yeah.
Right.
Like I mean, for sure. Like
that's kind of tough.
Yeah,
that's kind of brutal.
I mean, look, that's all they know, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and their best friends, right? Their memories are everything at tournaments, right? Everything that all their memories are the ones on the court, right?
Right.
I would not change a thing for every memory that I made on the court, whether it's my friends, you know, my wins and losses. Like I remember all of that. But I also remember my homecoming, like my prom, you know?
You remember your life.
I remember it. Like, but I'm happy that I was able to have that. And again, like, I do think that's what made me the tennis player I was, is because I had that balance. But it's just who I am. Like, I needed that balance. Otherwise, I probably would not have made it to that collegiate level because I just would have been way too burnt out.
So what's your fondest memory of tennis? Now, it can be whether you're in college or it could be like whether you're just, you know, going to a practice with mom. Like, what's your fondest memory of tennis?
Oh my God, there's so many.
Let's go with your favorite one. Or choose one.
Okay. I think, so I qualified for nationals. So nationals, they were in Florida. So there's clay court and hard court nationals. So it's two different surfaces that you can play on for tennis. I think just those experiences and seeing the travel that came with tennis and be able to spend that with my mom, I'm so grateful.
It's kind of like a professional athlete setting.
Yeah. Like, it was just like, we had a routine, you know, oh my God, like, nationals was insane. Like, you go there, they have refs on every court, right? They're line judges, or they're roaming the courts. You have a medical team, you know, ready to go. They have, like, a welcome party. Like, it's all, you know, whole thing. They have dinners provided for you, like, for some nights. Like, it was just such a cool experience to be a part of. And then to be able to have that, like, with my mom and experience that whole, like, the preparation, waking up, like, okay, we do an hour of warm-up, right? Then I'm going to go have my breakfast. Like, all right, then I have to go check in for my 8:30 match, right? It's, okay, before it's 8:30, make sure I'm doing some jump ropes before. And having my mom as my coach, she doesn't like to say that she was my coach because she's like, I'll never be one of those crazy tennis moms.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think those were my fondest memories, like that whole experience of traveling with her in nationals, eventually getting to that point of I made it to nationals was awesome.
Yeah, that's got to be super exciting.
Yeah.
Just having those memories. I think me also having like a moment like that with my dad, I was like Jupiter, Florida, where you go to, I mean, you went to this tournament, you flew down to Jupiter, Florida, and there's no, there's just a field, but there's no sideline fences because the scouts pull in on golf carts. And they watch you, and you're just like, wow. Like, surely if I don't suck, I will get a scholarship somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And fun fact, that's where URI also saw me, but like they weren't like looking at me at the time. And then they have college guys, but being able to share that with my dad, we also got to go to the beach. I got to hang with the guys on the team. I think I also probably smoked my first cigar over there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad. But
Sorry.
we just yeah, exactly. We just had fun with it, and like having those moments with your parent, I think that's like super cool, and like it's something you cherish forever. Because I remember something my dad told me. He goes, man, I'm gonna miss these times, and I was like, 9 times out of 10, these times sucked.
Yeah, no, for sure, they were tough.
Yeah, they were brutal because more times than not, you come home defeated.
Right.
You never win them all, really. So.
But then, like, how many times do you go home and be like, Mom, Dad, remember that? Like,
remember doing that shit all the time.
Yeah,
exactly. And so, what do you do now?
Yeah, so now I live in Boston with my fiance Ben,
Shocker.
Who played at URI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, really breaking the Civil War barriers.
I know, the Battle of the Ocean State.
Yeah, I know. Look at y'all.
So I live in Boston. We live in the Quincy area. I work for a company called Seismic, and I'm doing management, so I actually used my degree, which is good.
Nice, beautiful.
Right, love to see that.
Love to see it.
So right now I'm a senior manager at Seismic, which is a sales enablement platform.
Okay.
And I'm managing a team of sales development reps, which is SDRs, who are really doing the ones that are cold calling, booking meetings for our sales engine.
Excellent. So you get to use your job. You get to use your degree anyway in the long run. So it was worth it. It was all for naught. It was excellent. You freaking got your degree, and now you're working, making money in the real world.
Thank God.
You enjoy it?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, playing. Still play tennis a little bit. I will say I picked up pickleball.
Love pickleball.
Whatever people say, let me tell you, tennis and pickleball are so different. I don't want to hear it. I whiff the ball.
It's so easier for me to play pickleball than it is to play tennis.
Yeah.
My Katie literally beats me all the time in tennis. It's obnoxious. She's also a sore winner and a sore loser.
Yeah.
So it's like, no matter what, I'm in the wrong.
Well, I'm guessing you might push her buttons a little bit.
To
make her that, if that's the case.
100%. But if I'm not doing my job.
Right.
So, any other advice you have for girls trying to make it to the collegiate level?
Yeah. I think that if you make a bond with your coach, I think you gotta, tell them, it is that work hard, play hard mentality that, I live by. You need that tough love, right? College is not going to be let me hold your hand. Yeah. They're going to put you through some tough workouts, some tough matches, tough situations, sacrifice, right?
Right.
You need to start that now, right? I would say if you can, put the extra effort into that weight training beforehand, get in shape that before you enter college. So your endurance is built up, you're stronger. It just sets you apart from a lot of, individuals. Yeah. And, don't be like me. And I said no to my mom, right? Keep every door open, right? You rather have offers on the table and then, shrink them from there than
just cut them off.
Cut them off because you don't know. You really don't. Correct. Right. And again, I think for me, my biggest advice again for anybody for any sport, make sure you're picking the school for the school, because again, I had coaches leave, right? I had teammates quit, but I loved the school, and that's what kept me there, and that's how I was able to, stick with tennis. A good time. Yeah, and I was able to do both.
So, any last advice for people who are currently in college playing tennis on how to survive?
Yeah. For tennis, for tennis, I would say try to keep up the match play a little bit. Okay. Because I think during the summer, that was something I didn't do as much, which match play and practice are very different. Sign up for those low-level tournaments, sign up for invitationals, just something to get you into the match mindset. So when you're coming back in the fall, you're ready. It's not like match play is anything different from you, because it really is different than just practicing with your teammates.
Wow. Well, Katie, thank you so much for being
Thanks
on us
for
today.
having me.
I had a great time,
Thanks.
and surely we will have you on again.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you for a lovely home and a lovely setup.
Thanks for coming.